For this assignment, we're going to be looking at bonding of ions. Now, we talked about ions and we talked about how they're charged particles. So in this case, they're showing the Bohr diagram. We're not going to use the Bohr diagram. We're going to make it simpler and use the Lewis dot diagram, which we talked about last unit. So we've got lithium, which only has one valence electron, right over here on the periodic table. They have it all drawn out with both rings. I'm not going to expect you to do that. So we're going to do Li with the one dot for the Lewis dot model instead. Then we've got fluorine, which is over here, that has 7 electrons in the outermost ring and then 2 on the inside. So what happens is we've talked about how the metals over here on the left-hand side want to get rid of electrons to be like the noble gases over here. We also talked about how the non-metals, metalloids, and some of these metals over here want to gain electrons to become like the noble gases. So that's what we're going to be looking at here, is we're going to be looking at how those electrons transfer. And hopefully this is review and you've seen some of this before, but if not, we're going to go over it just to make sure. So the one outer electron that lithium wants to get rid of, when it gets rid of it, fluorine's going to take it. And so then we end up with lithium with 2 electrons and then fluorine with all 8 on the outside. That's going to give our lithium a positive charge, and our fluorine's going to have a negative charge because of that transfer of the electrons. Now, because of those opposite charges, that's why the bond forms, because the positive and negative are opposites and opposites attract, so they're going to end up bonding from that. So we're going to look at some reactions here. I've got one done. This is how I want you to work on it. So we're going to draw the Lewis diagram for lithium, which is just going to be 1 valence electron. We have chlorine, which is over here, very similar to fluorine, and it has 7 valence electrons. Well, we know lithium wants to lose its valence electron, so it's going to come over here to chlorine, and you're just going to draw an arrow. Now, since both rings are full, you don't have to like redraw them as being empty and full. You're just going to draw an arrow and say now we've got Li plus Cl minus. Then we're going to break it down to the atoms. So lithium and chlorine start out with 1 and 7 valence electrons. Only 1 electron is being transferred. And then we're going to have Li plus Cl minus, and those are going to bond. All of them are going to be very similar to this. So let's look at the next one. Actually, let's look at number 3. So we've got beryllium, which is Be, and it's going to have 2 electrons in the outer ring. So we're going to go Be, 4 total, 2 in the outermost ring. So we've got 1, 2, and we've got fluorine that has 7. Because it's over in this last column. Then we're going to have another fluorine, as you can see. Okay, so we have 2 electrons on beryllium that it wants to get rid of, and each of these fluorines wants to gain 1. So we're going to have, this one's going to come here, and this one's going to come here. So then essentially we're going to have Be plus 2, F, and we can draw a line saying it's bonding as well. Otherwise you can make it, you can say Be plus 2, F minus, and then the 2 down below means there's 2 of them. I'm just going to kind of separate that a little bit. So we start out with Be and F, 2 here, 7 here. Each of these is going to gain 1. This one's going to lose 2. And if you want to put the lose and gain, you can. And then the ions formed are F minus and Be plus 2. If you have any questions on this, let me know. You're going to probably be getting into some that, notice this one, you're gonna have 3 chlorines. This one's gonna have 2 sodiums. So the coefficients are in the front. The subscripts behind them mean that's how many of them there are. So this, for instance, this Al is gonna bond with 3 Cls. But there aren't very many that actually have multiple atoms in them. So if you have questions, again, please let me know. I realized after I got going through the assignment that at some point it's going to give you the beginning atoms, but not the final. So I'm gonna go through one of those with you quickly. So lithium, we've already talked about, and that has 1 valence electron. Oops. This is number 8. So lithium has 1. Nitrogen has 5. So we've got 1 that's gonna come over here, which is gonna make nitrogen kind of happy, but there's still 2 unpaired electrons and it needs 2 more. So we're gonna have another one bonding from here and another one bonding from here. So in the end, you're gonna have Li plus, and there's 3 of those, N minus 3. That doesn't look like a plus sign, so plus, and N minus 3. And if you want to draw it as a bond, you can do Li, N, Li, Li, and then just put a plus after each of these. And that's gonna be minus 3. So either of these 2 ways to like draw it out is fine with me. And then you'll have to come back up to the top of the equation and say that you have Li3N for the result on the worksheet. And your worksheet should end up looking something like this.